Today we're talking about maintaining a healthy sitting posture at work during pregnancy. If you're pregnant like me and new to my channel, make sure you subscribe and click the bell button below so you don't miss any of my pelvic floor tips for an empowering birth experience. Recently, I was giving you some tips for a healthy standing posture in pregnancy. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do a video as well for sitting posture because so many of us have desk jobs and just sit for hours at a time. So I thought it would make sense to make a video about that as well. So let's dive into it. We're gonna start from the head and move our way down to the feet. So for the head position, when we work on the computer, we often end up in this posture, right? And this is true for anybody, not just pregnant women. So what you want to picture is that you have a little string here coming from the center of your cranium, and you want to pull that string up to kind of bring that nice straight posture here on your neck. Another cue that you can think of is bringing your chin back, right? So this is your proper head posture. Now, what are we doing with the bump? I find for myself that I end up being kind of like this. And a lot of it is like just kind of relieving that pressure from the belly pulling me forward. So what you can do is to wear a maternity belt. If the belly belt increases symptoms of bladder pressure or just not feeling good with it, then it's definitely not what you want to do. The idea is that you should feel better with it. This is not something you would wear in a early second trimester or even late second trimester. Depending how big your bump is, you may want to have just kind of a gentle hug support. And I have maternity belt options in another one of my videos, so I'm going to link it in the description below if you want to look at the different options. But yeah, sometimes just having a bit of a hug there can help at just kind of letting go of your core too, right? And don't feel like you need to pull everything at all times. I would say that it feels better actually when I'm wearing it. Some people will end up loosening their maternity belt when they are sitting, so you can just put it a little farther back. If you feel like it's too compressed or your bladder is acting out. And some people just don't use any. So really it is, like I said, trial and error, and you do what feels right for you. But if it feels like you can maintain better posture with it, then I would say go for it, for as long as it doesn't trigger any symptoms. Now for the back, you want to have support for your back. It is almost impossible in pregnancy to maintain good posture for hours at a time without back support. So this chair is really nice because I made sure when I bought it that the seat was not too deep for me, so I could have my back well supported without being like this. You also want maybe a bit of a lumbar support to not end up in that slouch position. You can use something like this, for example. It could be rolled towel if you didn't have any fancy cushion. I also love my Gorgeous Ball. I've talked about my Gorgeous Ball in so many videos already. Yeah, the Gorgeous Ball you can inflate and deflate at your own preference. So I could just put it like this and then put it in my lower back, and I could even deflate it slightly more, but it really allows me to keep my back straight versus going that flex position. So find what works for you, but the idea is your back should be somewhat straight, supported, and keeping that lumbar curve here. Now let's talk about your pelvis position. So if you picture your pelvis as a bowl of soup, you don't want your soup to be spilling forward or backward. You want to keep it in. So very important to not sit at the edge of the chair because that would spill your soup forward. And if you are slouching, then you would be spilling backward, right? Trying to find that most forward position and then that most backward one, and see where is the middle and try to sit there. And it helps a lot to be sitting all the way back on your chair in order to achieve that, because your pelvis won't have any choices than being sitting neutral. The other thing is not crossing the legs, because it's not a stable pelvic position. So you may develop some aches and pain around the pubic symphysis, the SI joints in pregnancy if you're always crossing your legs when you're sitting. So you want to have a nice V shape here with your thighs. And I mean, you could have like parallel legs as well, but for people who have any pelvic pain, I find that having the legs wider is really helping. And the last thing about the pelvis is you want to put equal weight on both sits bones. If you end up sitting like this or like this, then we're offloading one side, right? So that's why the nice wide position, sitting right all the way to the back, is the best position for your pelvis to stay pain-free. And now your feet should be nice and flat on the floor. So you may need to add a footstool to achieve that, especially if your desk is too high and you need to have your chair higher in order to have the proper posture for the rest of your body. But yeah, otherwise you can just play around with the height of your chair. Now, of course, these are good principles, but you will need to move around too, right? You don't want to be just kind of sitting with that proper posture for hours. So here are some alternatives that you can think of to change position a little bit. So you can have, a foot on the opposite knee once in a while. It's nice to stretch the glutes as well, and you can even lean forward a little bit to get that stretch in the glutes. So a really nice way to integrate a little bit of self-care into your day. And of course, when I was talking about the pelvic position that, is not great when you cross your legs or when you are sitting like this, I mean, it's fine if it's just for a few minutes, right? It's just that don't spend your whole day like leaning on one side versus the other. So that is one option. If you have a standing desk like me, you can just stand once in a while. And when you're using a standing desk, I always recommend having a little footstool in front of you where you can have one leg up on the stool. Maybe I'll need to increase the height here. Yeah, that's good. And then you can switch, right? So that makes 3 positions. You can be either standing here, one foot up, or the other foot up. So that's a really nice way to just change positions a lot versus always being in that same standing position. So I hope this was helpful, and if you want concrete, actionable tips to prepare your pelvic floor for an empowering, positive birth experience, don't forget to grab my free prenatal pelvic floor book in the description below. Thanks for watching.